the biggest secret that has ever existed. Narrator Jenny Lin. There are a lot of lies that permeate this system. Despite the wars, crimes, and injustices, no one wants to alter the way they live. There is a universal desire of all persons that the world would change, without the change negatively impacting them. The Bible calls this system of things Babylon. But what defines a Babylonian according to the Bible? Babylon, or this world system, is built on many lies. We can assume Babylon represents a way of living built on systematic deceit. One can liken living in Babylon to being the victim of a perpetual scam. But the key to understanding how this con works is to understand we are willing participants of it. A con is a lie wrapped up in a truth. Babylon is a system of lies, but there is one lie that is greater than the rest. The success of the con depends on the lie remaining hidden. For 6,000 years, the con has existed in many different variations. Through the eons, it has remained largely hidden. To reveal the lie is to strike at the foundation of our civilization. If this edifice we call civilization has a single linchpin that pulled would mean the system collapses, this secret is it. However, there is no way to reveal this secret without undermining everything you think is true. The lie has been too long in existence and impacted too much of what you have been taught. Even when the lie is revealed by others, the teacher does not understand what he is revealing. The lie is that deeply embedded in our culture and thought. We can introduce the lie gently by observing that a citizen is not a subject of the state. Citizens are sovereign persons with an autonomous identity. Citizens own what they create and do not require a license from the state. All of this is true, but what does it mean? What are the implications? Faced with the military or a cop with a gun, our status as a sovereign citizen does not mean much. Anarchists and libertarians all contest the authority of the state. However, the anarchist and libertarian interpretation as to what it means to be a citizen is flawed. To eliminate the state does not leave us with citizens. A citizen is not a person with bodily autonomy. The citizen as sovereign is not the same class of thing as the person who is sovereign. The citizen is not a person. Persons are not necessarily citizens. Citizens are not things of the flesh. The person without a state or government is bodily free. That does not make him or her a citizen. Humans are more than body, and until that we cannot understand the lie or the nature of a citizen. Humans have an identity as spirits. A citizen is a religious class and more specifically, a state of grace. The citizen is produced by faith and is not a product of the flesh. Citizens are members of a Christian church, where the Christian church we know, composed of people of faith. This is not the case. This is why the lie remains hidden. Nothing means what we have been taught. The equivalence of faith with the citizen ought to be plain if we identify the harbinger of the lie as Babylon. Babylon is a very inclusive concept. It is thought of as a city by most readers, but a better depiction would be as a race. No doubt you were told one of two lies. Either you think there are several races typified by skin color, or you were led to believe there is only one race. Christians are of the opinion there is but one race. Both of these options is a lie. This is how the lie stays out of sight. It gives you choices as to which lie you will defend. You think your lie is the better one, and you claim that makes it the truth. There are two races. One race is the Babylonian race. The other is Christian, or the people of faith. We have two faithers. People in Babylon are in Babylon precisely because they think they are flesh, they are bodies. Babylonians operate under natural and human law. Their reality is physical, and their bodies are products of the world they live in, the physical world of the flesh. Babylon has subjects. Subjects are akin to possessions. Subjects are domesticated humans trained to serve the state. Subjects exist under the authority of a state. The strange thing about this is that apart from a couple of fringe groups, people are happy living under the state. If people reject the state, it is only a superficial rejection. All persons rely on an ethical system of laws. People prefer regulatory frameworks to living in faith. We need to understand these are two different realities inhabited by two different peoples or races. The exception seems to be anarchists and libertarians. The exception is more visible than real. What they reject is laws as fashioned by other people. Anarchists favor the law of the jungle and libertarians prefer the law of free trade. It is not the abolishment of law they want, it is the abolishment of a particular source of law they are offended by. But their preferences do not pose a threat to the big lie. There is one group that rejects regulatory systems. One group rejects all ethical guidelines. Regardless of whether you prefer the regulatory power of the state, the law of the jungle, or the laws of finance, or any set of ethical rules and principles and written mandates, or even the regulatory apparatus of the autocrat, one group stands apart from you. These are Christians. Christians are defined by a little understood institution, called the church. Christians know more about what a church is not than what it is. The influence of the Catholic Church and Protestant pastors have driven the consensus. Christians think a church is a cross between a club and lecture hall. This has more to do with responding to the needs of the ecclesiastical authorities than the needs of Christ. The pastoral view of the church as a vehicle through which the ecclesiastical authorities work might, at a stretch, suffice to define the local church. A pastoral system definition translates very poorly when trying to equate the local church with the universal church. In the latter instance, buildings vanish, and we are left with a confused bunch of people, the world over, wondering what they are to do. What makes the convention understanding of the church more bizarre is that Christians do know the church is not the people and the church is not buildings. So if the church is not the building of the local church and the church is not the people of the universal church, what is it? In fact, the church is a race of people. It is a class of persons of a particular race. The race of persons is defined by a culture of faith. The faith builds the church because the church is this class of persons known for their faith. Christians are about as eager to talk about the nature of the church as evolutionists are to discuss life's origins. It seems a good idea for Christians to look at the details about the church that are given in Scripture. Christians need to look at the information Jesus has provided to us about how we are to live, then discuss if Christians can achieve this in the world of the flesh. If Christians were to look at even one clear and non-controversial statement made in 2 Corinthians 6 verse 17, the consensus ought to be we and the world are not compatible. Christians are to separate out. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. This very simple and clear command cannot be met by holding meetings once a week. The condition or structure of the church is not negotiable. This is not a matter of the architecture of buildings. We are permitted to build a church without spire or wooden cross inside the vestibule. A non-negotiable issue is on the level of 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. The church is when it is precisely and absolutely as God defined it. We cannot be a church by means of a negotiation with the world of the flesh. If we do not follow the logic as laid down by God, we are concluding that 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. It is not just that the citizen is not a subject. It is not just that we are not of the Babylonian race. Citizen and subject are exclusionary and as incompatible as the world of the flesh and the world of the spirit. Citizens are Christian and Christians are the church and the church are a people of faith, not flesh. A citizen has the non-negotiable rights of a Christian. This is not an issue open to negotiation with the state. The non-negotiability of faith cannot be open to negotiation. Nor can we rationalize changes to Scripture. We cannot rationalize what it means to be a Christian, or decide what a church is because of the environment we are in. As this essay is being written in February of 2022, the Canadian truckers' convoy protest is in play. People may wonder at the fear Justin Trudeau exhibits when faced with demands he meet with the protesters. These truckers are striving towards citizenship. They are subjects striving to understand and exercise the rights of a citizen. They are beginning to understand that citizenship is not negotiable. The non-negotiability of citizenship scares liberals and all freeloaders. Citizens do not negotiate freeloading, nor do we negotiate with freeloaders. Citizenship is not negotiable. Christianity is not negotiable. But the state and its parasites cannot exist without negotiating access to the accounts of citizens. Citizens own what we create or author. This is a simple truth, but complex in application. God devised the church to make citizenship a reality. But man gambled he could thwart God's plan and come out ahead. This move created several lies. But the biggest lie of all was that man could still retain his humanity and faith even as he betrayed God. The big lie is that there is but one race under God. There are two races, and they ought not interbreed, intermix, or negotiate terms of peace. This has nothing to do with what is significant to human beings. We either live in faith, or we do not. We are under God and live by His teachings, or we live in Babylon. This is not negotiable. This is not a position achieved by force, intimidation, threat, or coercion. That is not how we leave Babylon. Faith cannot negotiate with flesh, not even on the battlefield. We are not just two races, we are two realities. To negotiate terms of surrender would mean there is some degree of common ground. Coming out of Babylon is not a physical event. We are in the world, but not of it. It is conceptual division. We want nothing to do with their ethical systems, legal, economic, political, or other system. They have nothing to offer us, and we want nothing to do with them. And though the separation may take some time and never be completed, the process ought to be started and pushed as far as we can make it go.